Hello and welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'm Gimli, and tonight my guests are, first up, fresh from his debut on Channel 4's The Undateables, it's Danny the GFP. Hello, Danny.
Oh, I'll tell you what, the number of people that have actually asked, is that me? I can't watch it because all the deformed people scare me. I have dreams about it.
You can't say that.
I can say that.
You can't say that.
It's like a trauma movie, that programme.
But you can't say that.
I can say that.
But have you found love?
I was brought up in the 70s. Political correctness means nothing to me.
Fair enough, we'll move on before this shit gets real. ABW's very own man of the cloth and self-proclaimed ITK killer. It's Raj Patel. Hello, Raj.
Hello, my little ginger goblin. How you doing?
I'm not too bad. I'm wondering when you're going to marry me.
Anytime soon, but this is a serious matter. I mean, I'm a member of the Universal Life Church now, so let's not mock it, eh?
No, that's I have to say I'm very surprised. Would you like to explain to the good listeners how you came about being a man of the cloth?
I was dared to become a minister, ordained, so I went to the Universal Life Church in Southern California and became a minister for $29.95. I'm just waiting for my license to come through now, and I'm going to marry a mate of mine.
So basically, he is taking bookings. He throws in a bouncy castle for the ceremony as well. So you know his name. What's your Twitter name, Raj? At Raj Patel. Is it 1809?
1809, and the first wedding will be between Carpenter Out and Jason Davies live on this pod in about 4 weeks' time.
Yep, they have. They've decided on the name Carpenter Davis, not Davis Carpenter. Has more of a ring.
Sorry. That'll be good. It'll be good. Don't worry.
Have one of you Minge Biscuits got your power supply plugged in? Because I'm sure the listeners can hear it.
No,
not me.
He says unplugging it.
No.
Moving this along seamlessly, Mr. Gimli.
Okay, fantastic. And this is the best intro of the night, ladies and gentlemen. Fresh from getting engaged over the Christmas period, one half of the best double act in the world. It's Andrew from Steak and Ginger.
Good. Brilliant. Thanks for having me on, boys. Good to be back.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Have you had a nice Christmas?
I have. It was delightful. I think this is my first pod back since October, isn't it?
It is. So it's been a while.
It's been quite the break. I'm pretty sure you only have me on in January, so you can say I'm like a new signing, so you don't have to bring anyone else in. But no, it's all good. It's been a nice break.
Yeah.
I think it's my first pod since before the pod was awarded at the FBAs. So just want to obviously thank all the listeners in advance. It was really humbling.
And I understand you have some facts on our very own minister, Mr. Patel, or is it some kind of scoop?
There's been some damning truths, I think, or some revelations in the WhatsApp group about Raj this week. Obviously, I'll keep them in my pocket as the pod goes. But yeah, pretty shocking stuff. It's not the man we thought he was, but he isn't even the man that is.
We have got a segment on it later, so I'll trust you'll bring it up then. Right, and finally, the go-to man in the transfer window and the undeniable Don Daddy. It's Geoff Arsenal. Hello, Geoff.
What, stranger, how the devil are you?
Oh, it's been brilliant. It's
been a long while, mate. I'll tell you, I'm feeling it. I've had to have a feel round for me about all me bits and pieces because I feel a little bit like Abu Dhabi, mate, where it's been so long. I've been out so long.
You've had to have a rummage about.
Yeah, I've had a reef round, mate. I'm all there.
Oh, that's good to hear. First up, as always, we'll go straight over to Danny for his scores across the board.
Okay, my little ginger giblet. First of all, 5th of 2 under-21 games, 5th of January, Wolves 2 for the under-21s, Wolves 2, Arsenal 2, with Iwobi and then super Dan Arsenal legend Crowley. Did you see that free kick that he scored?
Yes, I did.
Oh my giddy auntie. What, did you lot see that free kick?
Yep.
Oh, tell you what, that boy is more than... If you put him in a special hat with a special shoes and wrote special on his forehead, he couldn't even be more special. He is world class. And the last under-21 game before that was 15th of December. We might have mentioned this on the last pod because the last pod we did was the 16th of December. We lost 3-1 at home to Bolton Wanderers, and Irish legend O'Connor scored. We're currently second in the league behind Newcastle. I think we are in Division 2 of that competition. And then the under-21, under-18s, the 13th of December, they lost 3-0 at home to Fulham, say no more about that. And then in the Cup, they beat Reading under-18s 1-0 with Super Dan Crowley penalty in the 65th minute on the 19th of December. And they're currently 8th out of 12. And the Mighty Pirates are playing away at Wembury Rovers in the quarter-final of the Cup this Sunday. So come on, ye Pirates.
Japanese team, then?
I think they could well be. I just want to make sure I didn't say Wembley. It's Wembury.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, and I don't know who the under-18s and under-21s.
How are they getting on in the league and all that? The Pirates.
They had a big win recently. They got a young bloke. Is he called Callum? I think that's Callum of Sunderland, isn't it?
No, and they got someone called Tim Wu.
Is it? Yeah, he's got a couple of decent players there, but I think they won 7-4 or 7-3. One bloke got 5 goals. He's only 18.
Fuck off. Was that over Christmas?
That was quite a while, not that long ago. I'm going to go and have a look at Chris's website.
I fancy he's imagined that, mate, honestly. 7-1.
Yeah.
Does anybody know what Chris's website is?
No.
Fair enough.
Enlighten us.
I don't know. I do know. I'm just not going to tell you. What's Chris's site called?
No. When you got 1-0 down, 2-1 up, I bet you it's 3-0 down, 7-0 loss.
Right, I've got Pittsburgh Pirates, Orlando Pirates, Pirate Booty, Pirate Party. He's none of those, is he?
No.
What's his team called?
The Barbican.
FatPizzaEaters.com.
Barbican Pirates.
Half-price McDonald's breakfast.co.uk.
Oh dear. Oh, here we go. Barbican Pirates. Now I'm going to go and have a look at their website. This is seamless as always. You just carry on talking, Gim, and I'll interrupt you when I find out what the score was.
Okay. So how was everybody's Christmas then? Did we all get what we wanted?
Yes.
No.
In fact, let's have a quick run through. What were your favourite presents, Andrew?
Well, I received a coffee machine, which I was quite happy about.
Oh, is that why you keep showing pictures of coffee in the WhatsApp group?
I am. I'm becoming a barista, which I think is pretty hip. But I got some pretty shit socks as well, so it was balanced out.
Oh dear.
I also got a book. I also got given a book on Tinder fails, all the worst conversations people have had when they started on Tinder. So
I heard that you made a mochaccino with the sculpted ladies' tuppence on the top at the froth. Can you confirm or deny?
I will not have my ladies' parts banded around this podcast willy-nilly. So.
He said willy.
Especially not in a cheap coffee.
They beat Tamerview 7-2 on the 7th
I'm sure that's Tamar View.
That's it, on the 7th of December, and a young matey boy got 7. And before that, they've... I won't mention the rest of the results. Yeah, they're not doing too bad.
No, go on.
I've got rid of it now. They lost 2-0 and they lost 6-2. But they're a new team. They're doing well.
Yeah, very well.
In fairness to Barbican Pirates, they've only conceded an average of 4.7 goals per game. So,
I mean,
are they in a league that they cannot get relegated? Are they right at the bottom? So
they've
there's no team underneath.
No, they've expanded because Raj has got a little bet with Chris for next season that because normally there's only 3 leagues, but now they've expanded that there's going to be a 4th division, and then so Raj has got a little bet with him that he does or doesn't go down. What was the bet, Raj?
200 quid, wasn't it? Or 100 quid? 100 quid.
To do what? That he does or doesn't?
He doesn't. If he doesn't get relegated, I'll donate 200 quid to his fund.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, you might be able to...
Relegation, for sure.
Yeah, well. All right, then. Enough of this. Instead of analysing each one individually, we're going to talk about the run of games in general. And I have the run of games here. We've got a 2-2 draw against Liverpool, 2-1 win against QPR, 2-1 win against West Ham, the 2-0 loss to Southampton, and the FA Cup game against Hull, which was 2-0, which we will go over a bit later. We've had 5 games over the Christmas period, a 2-2 draw with Liverpool, a 2-1 win against QPR, a 2-1 win against West Ham, a 2-0 loss against Southampton, and a 2-0 win over Hull in the FA Cup, which we'll cover later. First of all, instead of covering the games individually, I'm going to talk about them in general and just over the Christmas period. So, Andrew, how well did we do?
I think it was slightly above average. I think there was no reason to be overly depressed, but at the same time, there was no reason to get too excited. I think it's obviously clearly it's a very demanding time of the year. Unlike our European counterparts, which take a break. We've had these 5 games from between I think it's the 21st to the 5th of January. 450 minutes of football is pretty intense in that time, and with our squad, how it is. The squad, obviously, we've got quite, we're pretty depleted at the minute in terms of injuries. It's going to be very demanding for us. I don't think we gave the best which we could have. I think the Liverpool game, the way in which we crumbled at the end was pretty disappointing. It would have been nice to have gone away and got the 3 points there. And then with Giroud getting himself sent off against QPR, it put further pressure on the team. Having to play 30 minutes on the backbone, on the back heel against one of our London rivals, who are usually pretty shite, but they were giving us one hell of a hammering for the last half an hour going at us. Yeah, I think obviously we played relatively well against West Ham. It was a marked improvement, and then the Southampton game was just a disaster from start to finish for me. There was very little positive to be taken there. It's one of those where on the face of it, getting 7 points out of 12 during that period isn't to be sniffed at. I think most clubs would look like that, but when you come in on the back, in context of how the season's gone so far, it's just not really acceptable for me. In fact, the fact that we've had such shaky form going into this period has only compounded the fact that we needed to come out and try and take at least 10 points. And then obviously the FA win on top to try and rectify or regain some of that share which we've dropped in the league. So I was slightly disappointed. I think we didn't particularly play good football at any point period. I mean, you could say we were pretty comfortable on the weekend against Hull, but Hull were pretty awful, I felt. Even though we did look pretty balanced in midfield, but the 4 Premier League games especially, there was not much Christmas joy for me. We did okay in terms of the results overall and the points, but it's nothing to marvel at. I don't think we've particularly regained much from the points we dropped at the start of this.
And Geoff, Andrew's obviously speaking about his disappointment there with some of the games over Christmas. 7 points from 12. He's got a good point. He's got a good point when he says it's not really top 4 form, is it?
No, it's very true. I'm disappointed because we should have. I mean, we was a little bit concerned and a little bit scared going into Liverpool because of obviously what happened last year, what a debacle that was, and then going 2-1 up, it was against the run of play, I think, and then they battered us, didn't they, for the last 15 minutes, and you know what, we did really well to get out of there with a draw. I thought they was going to, it could have been worse, couldn't it? I know it was a late goal, but I mean, even a few minutes after the late goal, I was really concerned for us. So we did well, but the defending was poor, wasn't it, again? I mean, that's been our Achilles heel again for the last few games, is our defending. Our defending's been so poor. The QPR game was a little bit better, but, it's them London derbies, they are a bit of a leveller because they're London derbies. All the London teams are always up against you. They're always up, against playing against you. West Ham was a difficult game that we did really, really well to go there and get the 3 points. I thought we played quite well at West Ham. Again, we was under pressure again. Again, it was down to our own fault. It was under so much pressure. And Southampton away was really a bit of a disaster. I think the play was okay. We had plenty of the ball, but no killer instinct in front of goal. We had plenty of chances to go in front against Southampton. And then the 2 bits of defending, I think there was 3 bits of defending that was just unbelievable. Individual errors again, not really a lot you can do about it, apart from those individual players, being better in them situations. I mean, that's what has been our problem. We've really got to get over it, and we've got to get over it sharp. Yeah. I don't know what you think about it, Raj. What do you say, sir?
I was ultimately disappointed by those games, to be quite honest. And the Southampton game was like the icing of a very unpleasant cake. It's just you're right. It's the defence that worries me. Even again in the whole game, even though we were very comfortable for pretty much the whole game. Every time Hull went forward in the first half, I had the shits, and every time that happens now in every game, I get worried. It's been ultimately a rather disappointing season. But the way I see it now is that I'll take any points how they come. So we got 3 wins or 2 wins or whatever it was, and I was happy with that. But that Southampton game was just, I went mental actually. It's the first time I've actually reacted to a goal. I usually kind of watch these games pretty quietly. But that first defensive error by Koscielny and Chesney, I mean, it was just horrendous. So yeah,
it's like the Littlewoods Cup, wasn't it? Birmingham City all over again.
It was exactly like that. And I seriously, honestly, I do just watch these games. I just watch them without too much emotion. And that one, I just went mental. I just literally was watching it on my own at home and just started jumping up and down. Just get so frustrated because we were very comfortable up until then. And there was just these horrendous mistakes keep coming up, and it just drives me mad. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know.
And the second goal. I mean, if it happened to Spurs, I should imagine all them Spurs fans must have been absolutely pissing themselves when Chesney's kicked the ball straight to their player and he just tapped it in the net. It must have been hilarious, but it was just like I was holding my head in my hands, thinking, "What the fuck's happened there?"
I don't know what's going to happen now for the rest of the season because you just don't know what we're going to get on a game by game basis. We might. I mean, to be honest, have we played well in any game? I mean, properly for 90 minutes for this season. Maybe one of the couple of Champions League games we have, but you just don't know.
We played pretty well against Man City at home when we got the draw. I think that was a relatively good performance, and even Man U in the first half, but then obviously failed to pop. But for me, the game as well, which stood out the most, and obviously you boys there, sorry to interrupt, talking about mistakes. The Liverpool game away, I was watching that in the Tollington, and I was pulling my hair out at just the sheer volume and number of mistakes we were making throughout that game. And it wasn't just the defenders, although don't get me wrong, Callum Chambers, he looked like a pub footballer that game. He was made to look average by Markovic, who's shite, which was embarrassing. And that game, obviously Liverpool played, they were nothing special. I'll tell you, the number of unforced errors we've been making as a team, and it's not just because, we're having to change the personnel around due to injuries. There's no pressing from the team. There's no tenacity in the final half. Even Sanchez was just booting the ball long and hoping for the best at times. It's embarrassing sometimes when you just see, these kind of the top level professionals at Arsenal making such silly and ridiculous mistakes. Chambers, and I was counting at least 95% of what he did led to some kind of error. It was basic stuff like he'd run towards the ball to head it and it'd land 5 meters behind him. That's kind of stuff that you expect to see at under 12s football. We had in the midfield just simply gifting the ball away. Or Giroud for the first goal when that ridiculous back heel. What's he doing on the edge of the area? And he nearly does the same again. The way in which these mistakes, it's almost like there's a lackluster in the drive in the team. They shouldn't be making these. Unforced errors happen. If you're going to touch the ball 100 times in a game, you can't be expected to have perfect output every time. But when it was so prominent in our game, serious questions have to be asked, about the mentality throughout the team and the squad there.
And do you think there's a lack of leadership then that's contributing to this? Because if you had a strong leader in that team, surely he'd be kicking a few arses every now and again. I mean, you can't blame this on the manager all the time or the trainers or whatever.
I don't think there's a single person in that squad who is a captain. I think Koscielny, Mertesacker and Flamini at times are the closest things we have to a captain, but there's no true, natural, genuine leader. I mean, obviously, you guys might disagree, I'm not sure, but I don't see anyone there who will take the game by the scruff of the neck or, take the team by the scruff of the neck at half time and really champion them to go out there and change the game around. That I just don't see that. And that's one of the things we used to have in abundance at Arsenal. Wenger always used to say, well, we don't really need a captain because we have 5 or 6. Whereas now, I just don't think we have one.
Yeah.
And I feel one of the main talking points over the Christmas period must be Giroud sending off. When did that come? Was that against QPR or West Ham? It seems like such a long time ago.
QPR, mate. QPR.
Yeah, I thought it was QPR.
Ridiculous.
But if you look at that, that whole incident. He's basically been fouled, and it was a foul. He's lost his head. But, I mean, anything in that game, you can't warrant that kind of reaction, can you, Danny?
Well, I was just looking at the lineups for that and thinking what was Giroud doing? I did a little tweet over the Christmas period because this game was on the 26th of December. And I think average on a full weekend programme of fixtures, there's maybe 5 or 6 sendings off. I think that day there was 16 players sent off. Now, I know back in the day, players used to, they talk now and they say that, but back in the day, we used to deliberately get sent off so that we could have New Year's off, because as a player, I think you're in New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and you spend no time with your family. Now, do you think I'm being a little bit cynical thinking that far too many players are deliberately getting sent off? Because what he did there was bullshit, but also what Ferdinand did coming up behind him. I mean, that's not the first time that Ferdinand's coming up behind some big hulking bloke with a face like a slapped arse, gurning at him, and that face that he had, he should have been done for that. I'm just looking now. Ferdinand had actually got booked in the 27th minute. Giroud got sent off in the 53rd, so that should have been a second yellow for Ferdinand, so he should have gone as well. Yeah, I just think the whole thing was a little bit silly. But with the whole thing over the Christmas period, I said we were in the group, and Chris was saying that we had 1, 2, 3, 4. No, he said we had 5 Premier League games between the whole of Christmas and the Stoke one, and people were saying out of those 15 points how many we were going to get. I said, I bet we get about 4 or 5 points. So for us to have got, what did we get? We got 7. That's pretty damn good. I was quite surprised that that West Ham was a half decent game. Even with Giroud getting sent off, we still managed to get the points. And I hadn't expected. I was thinking maybe we'd go there and get a draw, and possibly even a loss. But to be 2-0 up so quickly, I think if we would have carried on pressing, I mean, it's always hard to play against a team when they scored just before half time. That always, to go 2-0 up at half time. That really good goal from Welbeck was, I think, that killed QPR off.
I think Southampton was obviously the biggest disappointment, because they're above us. It would have been, I think was we on top of them just before that, or we would have maintained it anyway.
Yeah, we were.
And I mean, that was the big disappointment for everybody, and the way we just surrendered, and as soon as we went 1 down, it looked like the confidence completely drained out of us. That was the worrying point. And again, it's the spine of the team, and if your spine of the team is not right, then you are going to suffer. Szczesny had a mare, Perma, Osaka and Koscielny had a mare. And the midfield as well, to be perfectly honest, they wasn't very good.
I thought Coquelin played quite well that game.
Yeah, he did. He's done all right since he's been back, Coquelin, hasn't he, really?
How about a quick Twitter question, Gim, while we're talking about Coquelin?
Go on.
It says, our very own Swedish Freddy, who is kind enough to change his name to Swedish Freddy. We're just waiting on Frederick, the other one, to change his name to Danish Freddy. Oh, it's lovely. He says, is Coquelin good enough holding midfielder until this summer? So what do you think to that, Geoff?
Yeah, we'll get away with it against the teams that are, not the big teams. United's, Liverpool, maybe. The
City,
teams above
Chelsea.
us. Yeah, City and Chelsea, they're going to, he'll struggle against them because the players are much better. Technically, they're better. They think better, and they're better on the ball. But he'll do well against the smaller teams. Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's industrious. He's okay.
Would you put him ahead of Flamini and Arteta?
Yeah, I'd put him ahead against Flamini, definitely.
Yeah.
His ability on the ball worries me a little bit. For our passing game, in the centre of the pitch, you really, really do need to be good on the ball. I mean, you have got to factor in. We've got some. I know it's boring and everything else, but we've had some terrible injuries. Once we get our players back, like Rambo and Ozil, they're back all this weekend, hopefully. So you get them back, then we're a different team, and it brings more confidence into the team. All of a sudden, ball's played into the midfield, and his first touch is not right. Flamini's, he's struggled, isn't he, on the ball, really? Once you've got players in it that can, retain the ball, especially when you're under pressure, that's when it really, really helps. If you're really under the hammer and the ball keeps on getting knocked out and you keep on losing it and it's back on you again, that's when the problem lies, But Coquelin will get us out of trouble. I think it'll be okay for us if we don't buy in the window.
Jolly good. Raj, what do you think about those three? What order would you put those 3 defensive midfielders in?
I'd put Arteta top, and then Coquelin and Flamini right down the bottom. The problem I've got at the moment is that we're putting so much responsibility on these kids, and we shouldn't be in that position, should we? And I know Geoff's right that we've had loads of injuries and stuff, but Chambers is one for the future, Coquelin is one for the future, but they've got a lot of responsibilities, not playing in their position. So I mean, certainly Chambers isn't, and it's a worry.
Andrew, one last thing on this defensive midfielder thing. Flamini is now able to sign for another club. Do you think we should give him another contract, or let him go in the summer on a free?
I'd let him go on a free.
Yeah.
He's come in and he's done a job during a time we needed him. I think last year, he played well in some games, but we really this summer or January we don't go out and sign a top class holding midfielder in January this summer. We might as well switch the lights off.
Yeah, because I was reading a list of 12 I think it said decent players or world class players. It couldn't have been world class, and Flamini was on the list of players that are available on a Bosman now. Gim, what do you reckon about those three midfielders? Which would you put first?
I think Coquelin could come in and do a job, and from what I've seen of him so far, he has done a fairly decent job. I think it's fairly clear to everybody that Arteta's legs are going. Flamini's just not up to task anymore. I think Jeff's right. I think he'll get found out against the big clubs. However, I think in the games against your West Broms and I think he'll be absolutely fine. But I'd still like to see someone brought in January, a central defensive midfielder. For me, it's just as important as a centre back.
Andrew, you want to say something about Rosicky?
Yeah, the pod so far has been pretty melancholy, and it's been pretty damning. But one present that we did get from Saint Nick amidst the coal was Thomas Rosicky. I think he's been as per usual. He kind of seems to have these long layoffs, and then he comes back and he injects absolute pace and pace, precision, and pressing into the team. And he's been fantastic. He always seems to come back as we need. When we have a real need for that kind of pressing, attacking central midfielder, and it's great to see him back. I think he added a lot of value to the team against QPR, and he was certainly brilliant again against Hull on the weekend. So all for him in the workplace.
Were you able to lip read, or did anybody lip read what he said?
It was fucking something.
Shows the passion, doesn't it?
I think he's I like Rosicky, I really do. I think he's fantastic, isn't he? When he gets the ball, his first thought is always to go forward. And once he gets the ball and he's running through that midfield, he's different class, and it scares the life out of teams, doesn't he? And he does take the pressure off you. But again, it's the defensive part of it. He's not a natural defender, and sometimes we do. I mean, I was watching Atletico Madrid last night. Blimey, they can defend that mob. I don't know whether you boys saw it, but they can really, really defend. They hunt in packs. And they're just different class, all big, strong men, that can defend for their lives. Where we've got that soft underbelly at Arsenal. We've really got to get it out of us somehow.
I thought their captain was brilliant, ugly bastard, but good. Sorry, Kim.
Didn't Rosicky say against the game against QPR? He said that I just wanted to let the manager know that I'm still there, or something like that.
That's what he said. I knew it was something like that.
Just a touch of class that you get from him. I don't think that there's a single fan of our club that can dislike Rosicky. I just think he's such a fantastic player.
And our very own Chris has a special warm spot for him.
I think's played really, really well this season for us, and I really do. Santi Cazorla.
He's back. He's back.
I think he was shit for the first couple of months of the season. He was dog shit, Geoff. But just recently, in the last month and a half, he's been fantastic.
Confidence, isn't it? Those 2 goals that he got.
Yeah, you got to believe it. I was
going to say, people who aren't obviously part of our WhatsApp group might be interested to know that there's a kind of little ongoing joke that every time Davis seems to call Santi Cazorla shit, he pops up with a moment of magic. So hopefully, if you're listening, Davis, you can give him a little bit more criticism on me.
Does he not like Santi then?
No, we joke he's got an anti-Santi and an anti-Szczesny agenda. So I think it was against Newcastle, which literally he was slating. Literally, like comically, he was slating Santi, telling him he needs to, pick his head out his arse, and he scored that absolute cracker. So that's Jason Davis, our football correspondent for you.
So to finish this bit off, then, is there anything else anybody wanted to pick out for any of the Christmas games before we move on?
The Hull one, I think that was one of the worst games.
It's coming. The Hull one's coming next.
4th of January. That's not technically Christmas, is it?
No.
I withdraw my previous statement.
It is Christmas. 12 days of Christmas. Sure.
Yeah, you should have your Christmas tree up.
Mine is still up now.
My one got taken down 26th of December. Thank you very much.
You miserable shit.
Yes, I know. So basically, I'm going to talk about the whole game now. And basically, I was going to do the whole game a little bit differently because the
Do it in
man of the
French.
moment. No,
German?
because the man of the no, because the man of the moment was Alexis Sanchez.
English.
Shut your face. Welsh, actually.
Tidy.
You'll find.
Come natural.
Can you talk Welsh, Gim?
Can I? Can
Yeah.
Ollie
You can
Draft?
talk to them. Get out of my way, you cunts.
You don't
Where did you
even
learn
know
to
that.
fucking drive?
It's tame. That's tame from what I have to say on a daily basis. Seriously. Oh.
Go on in.
Hanging out my car window, frothing at the mouth.
Hanging out of what?
Nothing.
Fair enough.
So the reason I picked this game out is because there was a lot of hype behind Alexis Sanchez being given a rest before the FA Cup, and he played. And not only did he play, but he assisted and he scored. So Alexis Sanchez watch. Was this the day that people looked and saw just how good Alexis Sanchez is, Geoff?
I just think he's been superb all season. I was a little bit. Jury was out whether or not he was going to, have a massive impact at Arsenal before he came. But I think he's been a revelation. What a signing! Fantastic signing. £32 million for a player like that. And I think we couldn't get Suarez, but we've got Sanchez, and I think I think he will come. It will go on to be an absolute revelation for Arsenal. He could be, maybe one of our best players ever. Hopefully, if he stays for a long period of time, I think the guy's got everything. And the best thing about it all, he's so hungry. He's hungry to play. I mean, there's questions whether or not he should be given a rest, but I think Wenger said in the week that he asked him if he wanted to play, and he says he wants to play. They've been checking him regularly, his fitness and stuff, and there's no alarm bells. He's not in the red zone, as Pedro would call it, bless him. So when they're playing like that with the confidence, I think you got to keep playing them. Why not? But what a revelation, the player.
And Raj has got a question for you, Geoff.
Geoff, is he a better purchase than Ozil? What do you reckon?
Undoubtedly, at the moment, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no question at all about it. I think he's much better than Ozil, but we've got a lot more to come from Ozil yet.
No, I'm sure.
Different type of players, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they're fantastic. I mean, when you see this Man City buying, or allegedly buying, Wilfred Boney for £30 million and £180,000 a week. I mean, it just Sanchez for £32 million seems an absolute steal for me. It really does.
Oh, here. Danny, I understand you've got some Sanchez watch questions or stats.
I've got some questions and I've got some stats, but I'll just do the stats for now. Pass accuracy for the whole game, 76%. Aerials 1, 33%. Touches 69, fouls 2, total shots 6, dribbles 1, 4, tackles 1, and rating of 9.4. Oh my good golly, that was absolutely amazing. And I remember when we were talking about when we just signed him, and I said that when he was at Barcelona last season, he scored 21 goals in 54 games. And I remember thinking at the time, if he scores half of that for us, we've got a decent player there. And already he has got 10 goals in 17 Premier League games and 15 goals in 26 games so far this season. That is absolutely stunning. I love him.
I read a stat somewhere that he's on course for the most number of goals for a first season at Arsenal. I think Omri was 20. I think Omri got 23 or 24 or something like that, or maybe a little bit more.
Is that full season? Because I thought Omri...
Full season, yeah.
Oh, because Omri took some time to get going, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Well, let's basically say though, and I'll come to you next, Raj. I mean, what does it say about his character that he got offered a rest against Hull and he decided to play?
Just that is his character, isn't it? He's absolutely tireless. I mean, he's got a very good injury record as well. Now, I said in a pod back in September, October that I was always worried that he'd get injured because he was playing so much. I read a stat just now saying that he's played more minutes this season than last season already. But he's as Geoff's right, if he wants to play him. And his fitness levels are fantastic. He's my player of the year already, and he probably will be by the end of the season. I found it incredible that 2 or 3 people on Twitter on Sunday were saying that other players were better than him at that game. But no, he's fantastic, and I hope he just carries on. I think he may well break that record as well.
Raj, did you hear me on the radio show? I was saying that you take any Arsenal player, their very best season, like Henry would be 03-04, and going by their best ever seasons, making an Arsenal 11, Sanchez is now taking over Ljungberg on the right wing for me.
Not at all surprised. At all surprised. He is going to be a massive player for us. And if we can, add those players that we need over the next 6 months, cross fingers, please, Arsene, do it, then you've got a team there. But
I just hope the City don't come in with a £50 million and £250,000 a week offer for him, because then he gets his head turned.
I don't think his head will turn. I think he's quite. I'm going to really support him. I think he's quite loyal, and there's no way in the world the club will sell him, even if they were offered £50 million.
Thing is, he came from Barca with a whole story that, he wanted to play some football. He didn't like being in the shadow of Lionel Messi, and you look at it at the moment, Arsenal fans absolutely adore him, and you can see that he absolutely loves that. You can see that he's getting the games, he's scoring the goals, and he is becoming the talisman, which I think is the reason he left Barca. So if we can give him all of that, then why would he feel the need to leave? Go on, Geoff. Go on, Raj.
No, I was just saying that's one of the reasons why I get so annoyed. Like when I was talking about the Southampton game and the mistakes we made, he works so hard, and then we make these mistakes, and sometimes I think that some of the players are letting him down because of his work rate. Maybe I'm being too loyal. Maybe I'm being too kind of biased towards Sanchez, but that's why sometimes I get annoyed, because he does work so hard, and he doesn't. 90% of the time he plays really well.
And it's just the way that, and I likened him to when because I never watched David Beckham for Man United, but one of the main parts of David Beckham's game is if he lost the ball and he was playing for England, if it took him 3/4 of the field to chase that player and get the ball back, he'd do it. And I see that in Alexis Sanchez. I see the drive and the desire to fight for the team, to chase everything. There's goals this season that he scored that you could say no other player in that team would chase the ball to go and get it, whereas he's chased it and he's got something out of it. And I think that's what he gives you, and I think there's a lot of players in that team that could actually learn from that. I want to go to Andrew next, and basically the question to you, Andrew, is it amazes me how he could have ever been considered surplus to requirements at Barcelona, although it seems crazy to say 32 million is cheap, and in today's day and age in football it is. But was he the signing of the summer for you?
I don't think anyone else comes close, to be honest, Gimli. Not only from a biased Arsenal fan, but if you take it contextually, the importance he offers to Arsenal compared to any signing any other club's made, relative to what they needed, he's just another level. I think it's probably for me the best signing Arsenal have made in at least a decade.
Since Bergkamp?
Since Bergkamp, maybe you could argue Vieira, Henry and Campbell are kind of on that level as well. But, certainly with it since Sol Campbell in 2001, for me, he's easily the best signing we've made. He's a genuine world-class player, which is something, you can't say we've had an abundance of in the last 10 years. I know we've had players like Ramsey who's hit form at times. Obviously, Fabregas hit form at times, and Percy hit form at times. But for someone to be so consistent in what they deliver and the value they add to the team, I would be gobsmacked if he's not, right at the top of the awards at the end of this season. He's completely he's brought, as Raj was saying, he's brought a new lease of energy to our strike. Last year we looked pretty sluggish. We were all complaining about Giroud quite a lot, and obviously, most of the compliments we were giving Giroud was, his defensive abilities and how he tackles. But that pace which Sanchez has injected into the final third, especially from a central position. I know Theo's got pace, but he kind of hugs the touchline. What Sanchez gives us, he hurries the opposition. He presses, so high up the pitch, which is something we don't really do at Arsenal. I know, only him and Rosicky really press. So it's fantastic to see. He's an exciting player. He's full of skill. As Raj kind of said, it amazes me that there's people out there who purposefully try and find fault in his game for no other reason that they're trying to defend the club, which I find strange. Because, sure, he does, make the occasional miss pass, or he will try and there would be a mistake where he's tried something. But as you said, no one works harder than him to try and regain the ball. His desire to win, I think, is refreshing for the rest of the team. And it is just... Oh, no, carry on, Geoff.
Sorry, mate. No, yeah, you're right what you're saying, but he has got to be a little bit more careful with the ball. Our possession game, he has sometimes he gives the ball away a little bit too much, but that's going to come, isn't it? And if he's playing as well as he is now, which we can accept, once he gets it right and he keeps the ball and maintains possession, then I think he's going to be different class, isn't he, for us? Hopefully.
So you would say, Geoff, there is much more to come from Alexis Sanchez?
Yeah, I think so, definitely. His first season, so far he's been brilliant for us. Once he's really settled in, and he knows his team. I mean, wait till we get Ozil back. You can imagine them two playing together. I mean, that's just hopefully it's going to be brilliant, isn't it?
And if you could say he is as important as any signing from over the years, or you could liken him to any signing from over the years, is there any names that spring to mind?
No, well, like you say, when we signed Sol Campbell from that mob up the lane, that was very prominent because we was building another defence at the time, wasn't we? But with like a flair player like that, I mean, maybe Thierry Henry and Perez, wasn't it? Those are the last players that are really, really in that esteem, and he is definitely a world-class player without a shadow of a doubt.
Definitely so. Before we move on then, same question to you guys as I've just asked to Geoff. Is there anyone that springs to mind who has been as important of a sign-in for us, or anyone you would liken Alexis Sanchez to, or is he simply that good he is just out on his own? Raj?
He's not out on his own. I still think Vieira and Henry and all that, I've got a good argument as well. But in terms of importance, you've got to think about it for this season. If he hadn't been in the team, where would we be now? Seriously, because...
Bottom 5.
Yeah, I mean, Geoff, bottom half, you reckon?
No, I still think we'd have scored the goals, but I know exactly
who? I mean, let's look at it. Welbs has gone off boil, hasn't he, last few weeks? Well, he's gone a bit quiet now, and Giroud,
he's been nursing an injury though, Raj. I think that's a bit unfair. I mean, he hasn't been as good, but I know he's been carrying something.
Are you saying that we would still be top 6 without Sanchez? Because
I don't think so.
No, there's no way.
I disagree.
There's absolutely no way.
Welbeck, for me, it's caught in possession more than Pete Duggan. I wouldn't rely on him.
Sorry, say that again, Andrew. You just went a bit crackly there.
So I was saying, I kind of back Raj there. I think, Welbeck gets caught in possession more than Pete Doherty does. And I don't think we would be, I don't think we'd be challenging for where we are. But in terms of, I think, the signing when we signed Andre Arshavin, obviously I know it never worked out. But for me, it's kind of similar in that is Arsene Wenger has gone out and, he spent money relative to what he has to try and sign what he feels is a world-class centre-forward. Or a world-class striker at least. And I know Arshavin didn't work out, so it's not the best example. But that's the kind of lift, I think, that Wenger tried to put into the team back when we signed Arshavin. He wanted someone with a bit of magic about them, a bit of class, a bit of skill. And we're actually seeing that manifest now by Sanchez. And, I think that has, rubbed off on certain players. Because, to go out and get, the results we have when he's playing with some players around him, like Joel Campbell, for example, but to carry on and achieve the results he has, as was mentioned. Imagine how mouthwatering it's going to be when he's got an on-form Ramsey, an on-form Ozil behind him. When Theo starts to pick his game back up and he finds match kind of sharpness. We won't have Sanchez carrying the team so much now. When we get everyone back eventually, he's going to be firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, definitely so. We'll move on then. And Alexis Sanchez, fantastic performance against Hull. Sees us being drawn away to Brighton in the next round of the FA Cup. Danny, do you foresee any problems with this one?
Oh, we've got the mighty Craig McHale-Smith, Peterborough legend. He's back at Peterborough. He's there now. Darren Bent, who was an Arsenal fan, who was up at the Scum for a while. He was on loan there from Villa, and he's just come back from there, and then he's gone straight off to Derby. So they're not going to do very well. I don't think they've got much going for them. It's not going to be a hard game. I'm just checking whereabouts they are in the league. They are 21st in the Championship. They're only 1 point above Millwall, who are in the relegation zone. I think they're rubbish. Gus Poyet, or Poget, as you would say if you were from Uruguay, was the only decent thing about that team for quite a while. I do like Brighton. I like the place. I like the stadium. I even have a little soft spot for Chris Houghton, although he was
and
played,
the people.
well, hello sailor. I think Chris has been hard done by. He did wonders with Norwich and Newcastle, and every time he gets them up, he ends up getting a sack. I mean, he does mess it up a little bit. But I'm just looking through their team. They've got hardly anybody there that's a decent player. They had that Ulua, or however you say his name. They sold him to Leicester. And I think it's just a bit of a complete rebuilding thing there at Brighton now. And I don't think they'll be bothered about this game, because straight after they play us, they've got the week later they're playing away at Blackpool. So,
and I'm gonna nick some of your stats here. By the time we actually get around to play them in the FA Cup, it'll almost be 2 years to the day that we last played them. And was that in the FA Cup?
Yep.
If I remember correctly.
We
beat them on their turf, 3-2 on the day. 2 goals from Giroud and 1 from Theo. And I'm just nicking what you put here. Diaby played 90 minutes, and so did Andre Santos played 78.
Oh, great days!
Exactly. So thank you very much for that.
And if you remember, that's when we were still doing the other pod, and we'd been given tickets to go down there.
Yes, we had, which never materialised.
No, funny that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bold. Right, basically, boys, do you see any problems with Brighton? Do you think this is going to be a fairly easy bye to the next round? Andrew?
No, I think we'll progress quite easily.
Raj?
I'm actually sensing a cup run again this year. Don't know why. It's in the waters though. So, I don't know. I've got a sneaky feeling we'll do another one. So
it's nice to see you a bit positive.
I can be sometimes. Geoff just portrays me as a miserable git, So I can be sometimes. So I do. I think I sense a cup run.
Look what he did to Gav's reputation. I'd watch yourself.
I know.
Geoff, is this going to be a walk in the park?
Definitely not a walk in the park, but we've got to go there with the right attitude. We go there with the right attitude, I don't see any problems at all. If we go there want to try and piss ball about, then we might come under a bit of pressure, mate. So, and we don't need that. We don't like that pressure, do we? Especially, we're partial to a shock defeat, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, especially cup ones. I remember in the recent past, Bradford, Blackburn, just to name but 2 in the cups we've been knocked out by. Not good at all. Right then, we'll move on to our next segment. And we'll carry on our merry way through the podcast by talking about the goalkeeping situation, and Wojciech Szczesny in particular. Now, the reason this has been brought up again is because of his poor performances this season, especially the 1v Southampton. So, Geoff, I'd like your thoughts on Szczesny, please.
I think it's a difficult one, isn't it? He's still really relatively young for a goalkeeper. I don't think they mature till they get to really about 28. You've got to do it's game time. They've got to be in them games and playing them games for all that amount of time before they really get the experience. I still think there's a really good keeper in there somewhere. But his concentration sometimes he lacks, and he makes the odd mistake. But you know what? Goalkeepers do make mistakes. It's just, and once they make mistakes, generally you concede a goal by it, unless you're really lucky. He's a great shot stopper. His concentration, he struggles sometimes, like I've said, and he is prone to an accident. But you know what? I think we've got to stick with him. There's a rumour that Petr Cech may be coming in the summer. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens. But I'd stick with him. There's a lot's happened about the smoking and stuff like that, but who gives a shit? Everyone makes a big thing about it because he's not been playing that well of late. But he's, apart from the couple of mistakes that has cost us goals and points, his all-round game hasn't been too bad. His shot stopping and stuff like that. So we just have to run with him. What can we do? Otherwise you pay 35, 40, 50 million pound for a goalkeeper that, again, it's a toss-up, isn't it?
And Danny, a lot of people have said that he's a bit like Manuel Neuer without the talent. Do you think that's unfair?
Yeah, not really. No, I think he's. Chris knows someone who knows Ryan Huddart, and Ryan Huddart has a story to tell about him that he was all happiness and loveliness, and then when he was in professional mode, he's a bit of a miserable shit. He's got a face like a smacked arse. His eyes are too close together. And I'm just looking at this season, the Premier League, 17 games, conceded 21 goals, and I think he's had how many clean sheets do you reckon he's had this season?
Only his bed sheets.
None.
3 out of 17. He's had Champions League 4 games, conceded 6, 1 clean sheet. No, actually changed that, including qualification. 6 games, conceded 6 with 3 clean sheets. That's not too bad. There again, we do tend to play a little bit more defensive in the Champions League, and the Charity Shield, of course, that was a bit of a dead rubber. But to have only had 3 clean sheets in 17 Premier League games when we're halfway through the season, when you would think half of the teams in Premier League, a team like with us, should be keeping clean sheets. So out of that 17, you'd have thought maybe an average decent goalkeeper at Arsenal would maybe have 6 or 7. So if he's as good as he thinks he is, he should have 8 or 9. Maybe, having half of the games, if you have clean sheets, isn't too much to ask for, is it? I think he needs a long rest, and I think it's time for Ospina to come in and prove that he's only 26 and prove what a quality goalkeeper is. 50 caps for Colombia, and he's a decent player. He's more mobile, and I like him.
And the whole drinking from the bottle after conceding the goal. Now, I was reading Twitter afterwards, and that seemed to not sit very well with a lot of people on there. Raj, what did you make of that particular incident? Do you think it was immature? Do you think it was, poorly timed? I mean, how did you look at that?
I think it's just he is immature. I always think the good sportsmen in any sport have to have a bit of arrogance, and he's probably a bit too arrogant. But I think he's also ultimately a bit thick as well. But I'm with Geoff on this. I think he's got a lot of talent. I mean, the 2 big mistakes he made in that last game against Southampton, he actually made an outstanding save in between, and he's a very good goalkeeper. But he needs goalkeepers like Ospina and even Martinez to put some pressure on him, because I don't think he's had that pressure over the last few years. He's been the number one, and he's gone a bit complacent, I think. So I think Ospina needs to put some pressure on him.
And of course he's Polish, and he got caught smoking in the shower. And Andrew, from someone that's been caught smoking a lot of pole in the shower.
Oh dear, that's quality. Well done.
What did you make of that particular incident in the newspaper?
I mean, it's another stick to beat him with. He's not the first, he's not the first professional footballer to have a smoke, and he won't be the last. He's a 24-year-old guy. People make mistakes. He's clearly going to be upset with the performance which he put in against the game. And yeah, obviously he shouldn't be smoking. As a professional footballer, I mean, it's not advisable. And I'm sure the club, very much against it. But nonetheless, at the same time, would you rather that after a game where he's put in such a poor performance, he swans off happy with himself and content, or whether he makes some kind of error of judgment due to probably being distraught at how rubbish he was. He's young, he makes mistakes both on and off the field. That's for sure. And as Raj says, he is probably too arrogant. But we want confidence in our young players, and I think Szczesny's always had a lot of confidence. And I think the challenge is on the club, but how do they channel that? I think his father made some pretty interesting comments in the week, which been slight. It's not the first time his dad's come out before and made some ludicrous comments. He did it when Szczesny was dropped a couple of years ago after kind of the losses to the successive losses to Bradford and Bayern in the cups. But one thing I think we haven't mentioned, and in fairness to Szczesny, actually, it can't be easy. I mean, as a goalkeeper, one of your primary objectives is to command the back line, and to get the back line, the respect of the back line, and to get them playing as a unit. And it must be pretty difficult. As a club, we really only have two centre backs. In Koscielny and Mertesacker. This year we've played Debussy in centre back, Nacho in centre back, Mertesacker, Koscielny, Chambers obviously as well. There's no real solidarity towards defensive solidarity in midfield. So from a goalkeeping perspective, he's not really getting much cover. He doesn't, compared to back in the day, Seaman, he obviously clearly with the players ahead of him and the defensive discipline in that team, his job would have been much easier. And I think Szczesny's, also suffered this season from just that lack of, a clear defence, a routine defence. Last year we saw, Koscielny and Mertesacker have solid seasons. Sanya played most games, and then Nacho or Gibbs both, had good seasons, and and Szczesny was won the Golden Glove because of it at 23 years old. So I think he probably does need a bit of a drop, or he needs a bit of a kick up the arse from Arsenal. He's never really had much in the way of competition at the club, and now with Ospina there, we do have someone who of genuine ability who can push him. And so I'd be all for Wenger bringing in Ospina to try and lift Szczesny somewhat for that competition. But I do think some of the vilification he's taken this week has been above and beyond what's been deserved of him.
So do you basically think that Ospina needs to come in now, give Szczesny a rest? And do you think Ospina's good enough to make that place his own and keep Szczesny on the bench?
He definitely has the ability to make it his own. I think with Szczesny... Sorry, go on.
No, you crack on, Roger. It's fine. I'll just speak.
No, I'm just saying that Szczesny needs to focus, and the only way he can focus is he needs to know that his place is not guaranteed in the team, and that's, as I said before, he's had that spot in that team for the last 3 years, and with Ospina now in the squad, that'll put some pressure on him and maybe get him to focus more on his skills and attributes.
And Geoff, we'll come to you next. Ex-Arsenal man Johnny Jensen said in Danish media this week that Szczesny has played his last game for Arsenal. Your thoughts on that, please?
A lot of rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Do you have any reason why you think he'd say something like that in the media?
Mate, I think he was taken out of context. I don't think he said that at all. I think it was totally taken out of context. There's nowhere in the world that that would happen, is it? I mean, he's still a quality goalkeeper, and like Andrew alluded to, it's all about the defence that's in front of you. You need to, if you've got a good defence in front of you, you'll gain confidence from that, and you're organised and you feel comfortable. You know when you can come out and to take a cross, or come out for corners and stuff like that, and when defenders are running towards the goalkeeper. Once you've got that a click with a defender, you'll know whether or not you've got to come and take the ball, or whether the defender's going to take it. I mean, Koscielny at the Southampton game, with those two coming together. And one leaving it for the other one. I mean, that was where they hadn't had the game time over the last few weeks, and it had been broken. But no, he's a quality goalkeeper. We just need to persevere with him, and I do agree that maybe whether he brings Ospina in or not, I'm really not bothered about it. But I do think Ospina, he looks like he could do a job when he's called upon.
And Raj, Andrew briefly mentioned Szczesny's dad coming out and making a statement in which I believe he called Mertesacker a rhinoceros and saying Arsenal's defending is a shambles. What do you make of his dad coming out and saying these things?
Funny enough, you know me, I have a good moan about our team more often, not sometimes, but I do actually. But when someone else comes out who's got nothing to do with us, I know it might be his dad and stuff, I kind of get defensive. So no, it's all a load of bollocks. And as far as I'm concerned, he can go off and say what he wants. I'm not going to listen to it.
No, fair enough.
Well, I would say about what his dad said. I mean, some of that, some of it was embarrassing, wasn't it? How are you talking about Mertesacker, and he really shouldn't be in the public saying that kind of stuff. But one question, or one thing he threw up, which was, I guess, constructive, was that he said that he mentioned that Szczesny, about the coaching. I don't know if you boys picked up on it. He said that the coaching at Arsenal, the goalkeeping coaching, they don't really critically analyse Szczesny, and they don't give him positive feedback on how to improve. I think that was something he kind of mentioned, and he was pretty damning in that respect, without being as harsh as he was on Mertesacker. So I'm not sure if that's something that you guys have an opinion on.
No. Anybody got an opinion on that?
Well, we go back to Jerry Payton again, don't we? There's always been questions over Jerry Payton being the first-team goalkeeping coach. I think there's been questions from inside Arsenal about the goalkeeping coach. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. What coaching he's getting, is it helping him? Only time will tell.
See, this is something that Danny's felt very strongly about in the past, because I can remember even going back to the days of the Steve Bold podcast, talking about Jerry Payton and, whether he was good enough, and saying that someone that hadn't had that much of an illustrious career teaching our goalkeepers who should be at the top level where to and how to play their trade is simply not good enough. Danny, has your thoughts changed on that, or do you believe we should still be improving our training staff and questionably our goalkeeping coaches?
No, I still think he's shit. There is very rarely do you get. I mean, this is mainly me and Lord Hillwood who was going through this, but Steve remembered seeing videos of it when we were going on about it, of Match of the Day or The Game on ITV, and he was saying that Jerry Payton was playing in goal, and it was like watching Chesney play, because he was coming out flapping all over the place. Now, Jerry Payton is 58 years old, and the peak of his career, he was at Burnley, Fulham. This is when Fulham were 77 to 86. He played 345 games. Bournemouth, and then he went to Brentford. Finished his career at West Ham in '94, and he's played 33 games for the Republic of Ireland, which you think that's not too bad. But then he's been goalkeeping coach in a couple of teams in Japan, one in Sweden, a goalkeeping coach at Fulham. He's been at Arsenal since 2003, which, if you look back at it, that's when apart from Lehmann, that's when we've had rubbish goalkeepers, haven't we? We've never, or I say rubbish maybe a little bit harsh. We haven't had goalkeepers the class and quality of Jennings, Seaman, Lukic, and Lehmann, because none of the ones we've got at the moment are living up to that. But it's just the flappiness, the stay in your area. You do not come, like we used to say about Alex Song, where we would tie something around his waist to stop him getting past the halfway line. We should have some kind of force field to stop Chesney getting out of the box.
Yeah, definitely.
His best work was when he was a youngster, and how he improved as a youngster, and that was when he was under Tony Roberts, who's still at the club. He's like a youth team goalkeeping coach.
Yeah.
Maybe we should promote Tony Roberts to get the best out of him. That's maybe
Mark Schwarzer has just gone on a free to Leicester, hasn't he? Or I thought he was going on loan, but he was another one. He'd make a fantastic goalkeeping coach. I know Jens Lehmann, he wants to be more of a manager, and he's doing his badges. Some of which he's doing at Arsenal.
David Seaman off that Strictly Come Dancing on Ice shite and bring him back to Arsenal.
Yeah, only if we'd have a carp pond built at outside the stadium, that's the only way you get Dave to come back. But I just think like Geoff was just saying, the initial the way that Chesney was training with the Polish national team at the age of about 15, because he was such a prospect, that might have gone to his head a little bit, and now he does really think that he's God's gift to windmills.
How do we know that it's just not... Yeah, because you see it with some players that when they start their careers so early, by the time it gets to them being on their... and I can't say peak years for Chesney because he's not reached his peak years yet, but maybe tired of the game, or, a little bit kind of lost as such, loss of concentration. Do we think that maybe has something to do with it, Raj? He's eating his fucking ice cream, isn't he? Fat cunt.
He's ordering more rotisseries off of Amazon.
Sorry, I was trying to swallow. It was just...
Yeah.
Here we are, back in the showers.
No, not that. You'll have to repeat the question, because I wasn't paying any attention.
Do you think he's bad now? Wait till the transfers come up. He's going to be fucking comatose.
Oh, what was the question?
I've got no idea.
So about Chesney, do you think that having so much early success has made him jaded now?
Yeah, but basically...
No, he's not jaded. He's just a little bit...
Apathetic.
He's still young, he's a
Big-headed.
kid, and he's just a bit arrogant. So he just needs a bit of a slap, really. But he's still got the talent, and I still want him at the club. I still think he's the best goalkeeper of the club. But I want Martinez and Ospina just to put a bit of pressure on him.
I love Martinez. I think he's very, very good.
We've got three very good. I actually quite rate Martinez, and Ospina's excellent, and Chesney is rightly the number one. And I'm quite happy with our goalkeepers at the club.
But you look at I always think that you can have some kind of gauge with the national team with how good a goalkeeper they rate you. But I'm just looking at the national team, and since since May last year, which is 6 months, they've called up 6 goalkeepers. They've had I'm not going to pronounce these, bless them, but they hello all 6 of you. That's those 6 plus they've had the Chesney, the Buruk, and the Fabianskis. That's 9 goalkeepers that have been called up to the Polish national side in 6 months.
And haven't we had a goalkeeper agree to come on the show? An Arsenal ex-goalkeeper, Danny. You might not remember.
No, I don't remember. If you tell me his name, I know who it is.
Drunk off suppositories over Christmas, you were, I bet. Rami
Dipping them in
Shaban.
sherry. I thought that was a good idea.
Do you not remember
Oh,
Rami
of course,
Shaban?
yeah, it was Swedish Freddy, wasn't it? And they were talking to, and
Yes.
I had to go to Google Translate to go and know what the fuck they were on about. And then I think Swedish Freddy was asking, "Would you ever like to come on?" And he said, "Yes."
Yes.
I had a bit of a fright when we talked about Limpar, and I did the birdie 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 bird. But then over Christmas, I watched the Muppets, and then we saw the chef on the Muppets who does birdie birdie bird. And I checked on Wikipedia, and the chef is actually Swedish. So
And
that is now not classed as racism. That is classed as Muppetism.
and Anders has got back to us.
Yes.
And we're going to fix a date, and he is going to be on this show in the next few months, ladies and gentlemen. So
After sudden incident.
yes, as soon as we have a date, we'll post it to our Twitter, and we'll move on.
Yes.
And as always, a favourite of this podcast for the listeners is our transfer section, where we talk about what we possibly need to buy and who. So, Geoff, I'm going to go over to you. Where would you like to see us strengthen this January?
Well, the obvious, what everyone sees. I would like a proper combative midfield player, a strong 6 foot combative midfield player that can command that centre of the area, but is also very, very good on the ball, because if he's not good on the ball, it'd be no value for us because of the way we play. And another centre half, another central defender. Again, another big fella that's strong and can win the ball in the air and good on the ball. There's a suggestion that Loic Perrin may be coming to the club. I'm not quite sure whether that's going to happen or not. We'll have to obviously wait and see, won't we? But apparently, Loic Perrin he's not very tall, 5'11" or something like that. Maybe Danny can have a quick check on the stats. But he used to be he was a centre midfield player for most of his career, but he's now converted back to a central defender. And his last 3 years has been, I think he's been top defender in League One of France. So I don't know. It's interesting. I have to see what happens, but. You know, it's always very, very difficult in January to buy these players that you really, really desire, because, you know, they're as we said it before, they're always tied at clubs. The clubs are, they're either going for promotion. If they're that type of player that we want, the clubs are generally going for a promotion or a championship or something, or they're involved in Europe still. So it's always difficult to get those types of players. I think that the summertime will be the time where we maybe go for the marquee kind of signings, but I think you'll see definitely a couple coming in January, but I'm not sure they're going to be marquee signings.
And I have actually compiled a list of the main newspaper stories of players that we've been linked to this week, and I'll run through them later. I can tell you two of the players on that list that follow over from the summer are Schneiderlin and Carvalho. Andrew, would you be happy with either of those two coming in?
Yeah, I think. Well, Schneiderlin, I think, is a player that Wenger clearly admires. I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm of the understanding that when Schneiderlin was actually at Strasbourg, it was Wenger who recommended Schneiderlin to Southampton at the time. I think he's, he got himself sent off quite stupidly against Chelsea, but he's proven himself in the Premiership. He's got experience. But still, obviously, he's at that age where he can still learn and adapt to the game. And I think he'd be a very good signing for us. Carvalho, I probably wouldn't be in a position to give too much comment about, to be honest. But yeah, no, I think Schneiderlin would be a solid acquisition for us. I don't think he's world class, and I don't think he's of the quality that a lot of fans would probably be demanding if it was the summer, for example. But I do think he would make a marked improvement on the midfield as it stands currently.
And Raj, I remember when we did the Transfer Deadline Day podcast, which we will be doing another one in January. It is being sorted. You said that you liked Carvalho, and I remember a couple of weeks later you said you seen him play a couple of games for Sporting and he was absolutely shit. So where do you stand on him now? Do you think he's good enough to be our defensive midfielder for the next, say, 5 to 10 years?
Well, to be honest, I haven't seen him play since, but from what I saw, I mean, I mentioned him back in podcast number 68, by the way, so you can go and look at that, about 33 minutes in. But I thought he was an excellent player, and I think, he'd certainly fit into the club, into the team. I'm not too sure, to be quite honest, whether we will buy anyone in January, because if we're getting all these players back, how can you fit another midfielder in? We're going to have about 8 midfielders available. I would hope that we would get some sort of defensive option sorted out. But there was a few people on Twitter again saying, well, why aren't we getting our business done straight away? But to be quite honest, it won't happen until the last few days of the month, so I'm not going to really worry about it until then, because the clubs at the moment are trying to retain their players, and until we start putting some serious pressure on them, nothing's going to happen. So I reckon it'll be the last 3 or 4 days before anything happens.
I think that's the main thing. Sorry to cut across you again, Rob. I think that's the main thing. We need to retain the players, the best players, the good players that we have got. As long as we don't lose our good players and we add to them, then I think we'll be all right. Especially when we get all our players back, we'll be all right.
I think we've started doing that. We have started retaining players. I mean, all credit to Arsene Wenger for retaining our players last summer, and we started off the summer brilliantly with the purchases we had. My disappointment was that we didn't finish it off, and get the 2 players that we needed to have this complete squad. But as I say, looking at our January history over the last 2 or 3 years, Kallstrom last year, Monreal the year before. Monreal was a player that we needed because Gibbs was injured, and so was the other lad. Don't expect too much.
No.
What I was going to say, sorry, Geoff, just a question for you. One story, I don't know if you can confirm, I one story I heard in the background on Perrin, and I mentioned the other day in the group, was that apparently our scouts have given a pretty damning report on Perrin. In general, they're not very convinced by him. However, Gilles Grimandi has overruled them, and he's actually sung Perrin's praise to Wenger and advised Wenger that we should be buying him. So Wenger's in kind of 2 minds at the minute whether to listen to his scouts, the network, or whether to listen to Gilles Grimandi. I'm not sure that's how much truth's in that. That's just kind of something I've heard, and have you heard similar at all?
I think the problem is I think he's about 29 or 30. I think
he is 29.
That's where the problem lies. Again, we don't want to start stockpiling deadwood again. You understand me?
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't. I think he's very aware of what's the French boy we bought. The French lad that we bought from the Spanish team. What was his name? Schillaci.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to do the same again and make a ricket, because that was he just dropped a bollock there, didn't he? Really, at the end of the day, he couldn't adapt to the English style of play, and the game in France is different to the Premier League, and it's very difficult for a defender. He's not going to get any quicker now, is he? But apparently he's got a bit of pace about him. He's good in the air. But, it's his age. He's only going downhill. From 29, you're really going downhill. I think what we're trying to look at is to get a 25, 26-year-old centre-back that, has still got a little bit in front of him yet. I think that's the only thing that Wenger's concerned about.
No.
And, I got a bit of a... Also, just to correct, I'd be remiss of me not to mention, after our very own Chris sent me, a pretty lengthy A4 scouting report on our man Perrin, and Chris has kind of remarked that, he says, I won't read it all out. Sorry, Chris. I know obviously you spent a few hours on this, which is very kind of you. But he mentions that he's plus points that he's a talker, an organizer, he's a reliable individual, supposedly. He scored 21 goals, which isn't bad for a defender. So he was mentioned. So he's in the French team of the year last season. Apparently, he's at the heart of the Saint-Etienne defence, who have conceded the fewest number of goals in League One so far. He says that he's, for a short person, he's very solid in the air, much like Sanya in brackets. He's put very comfortable in possession. Passing ranges are equally good, whether short or long. Don't get Chris wrong, though. He's no Beckham, but he doesn't panic when the ball's at his feet. So.
What Wenger does like about him, I was reliably informed, is that he can play that central midfield role easily, because he's played that for most of his career, and he can play it right back just in case we do need a third or fourth choice right back. So he is adaptable, and I think Wenger does like those types of players, doesn't he? So
that 20 goals is in 284 games, Raj. But last season he got 6. He got 6 in the league. But he's a bit like their Tony Adams. He's been at the club since where is he now? He's been there since 1997, and he's 29. He's 30 in August. Yeah, he's a decent player. It says on these, if you go to Wikipedia and it's about a foreign player, go and click on the left-hand side to it in their own language. You get much more details. Like you can pick the gist of it up. Like it says his position is defensive midfielder, centre-back. But then you go and have a look at the English version. It just says centre-back. So I always go and have a look at both versions and try and make a little bit of sense out of it. But I think he's a half-decent player. But I don't think he'll want to come. I think there's just talk of it because Saint Etienne haven't offered him a new contract yet, and I think it's just doing the usual. Oh, I might go away, but I don't think he'll come.
No.
But if he does,
Speaking
he'll do a
of
job.
high-scoring centre-backs, Ronald Koeman scored 193 league goals in 535 games.
Yeah, but that's smooth. He's magical. He's like the Bionic Man with that left leg.
Right. Before we go on to the actual list of players who we've been linked with, I want one last question to Raj. Raj, you're a man that knows club finance, pretty much where the club is at financially. I mean, just how much money have the club got at their disposal to spend this January?
20 million, 30 million at most. It's not the hundreds of millions that people are going on about. And I'm the one who wants them to spend every summer. But yeah, that's about an honest figure I can give you. There'll be more in the summer once the accounts are published and stuff. But we won't spend more than that, if at all.
No. Right, we'll move on to the players linked so far then. So if you can say, how do we want to do this? Whether you think that they'll realistically sign or whether you want them. Actually, we'll go if you want them to sign and if they are a possibility. So the first name I've got is Edinson Cavani. Danny?
No and no.
Okay, Geoff?
Yeah, I'll take him.
Raj?
Yeah, I'll take him.
I thought it was, do you think we're going to get him and do you want him?
Yes.
So I'm saying no and no.
But just like Lord Mighty, I wasn't going to overrule him.
Mine's a no yes then.
Yeah, no yes for me as well.
So
okay.
Neither of you think he's coming, but you both want him.
I wouldn't say no to him, no.
I would take him. He scores goals, there's no doubt about that. He's better than what we got. It'd be an addition to the team.
Andrew?
No and no for me.
Okay, fantastic. The next one, and I'm going to murder this like Danny does most names on this podcast on a weekly basis.
Bitch.
Christian Bielik. He's a midfielder, Legia Warsaw. Apparently, this is a done deal. We have spoken to the player and agreed terms. He wants to come. He's spoken in the papers about a deal being agreed. It's just the fee is the sticking point at the moment, but they don't believe that that's going to be a problem. Fee is believed to be between 2 and 2.5 million, and I know Danny has looked up this player. So, Danny, can you give us some more details on that?
He's played an astounding 5 games for Legia Warsaw. He's played 2 games for Poland under 16s. His birthday was 4 days ago. He's now 17. He's born in Konin, Poland. He's 6'2", and it says here defensive midfielder, and that's all there is to say.
And that's about it. So maybe that'll be the first one that drops. Hopefully.
Have you got a price on him? Because on Wikipedia it says they've already rejected 1.6 million.
Yeah, I know that Arsenal put in 1.6 and they were going to go back to him with a 2 million deal. However, it was believed that wasn't quite going to be enough to push the deal over the line. And it's believed that he should move for around 2.5 million. So, you never know. Sometimes we do sign these diamonds.
You get back to us in a decade.
Yes, exactly. The next player on my list is Isco. And this is a...
Sorry.
I know. This is a £64 million acquisition
Don't,
from
you're
Real
killing
Madrid.
me. You're killing me.
So, boys and girls, or just boys this week.
Boys.
Isco. Do we want him and can we sign him? Danny.
I'm not even going to give this the justification of an answer. Fuck off, you rumour-making up cunts.
Geoff?
No and a no. Don't need him.
Okay, Raj?
We won't get him. I wouldn't mind him, but we won't get him.
And Andrew?
You'd have anyone, Raj, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
No, it's no and a no from me.
Always have a bit of ginger.
He'd have the pizza delivery boy from Pizza Hut if he could.
Don't. I'm thinking of ordering pizza on Chili Bite Huntingdon. Ask to Shazzy, tell him you get 0% discount.
Lovely stuff. The next player on my list, William Carvalho, a £25 million acquisition. He is a central defensive midfielder from Sporting Lisbon. Danny, do you want him?
No.
And Will we sign him?
I have a good friend, I say a Twitter friend, who is in Portugal, who supports Porto, hates Benfica, refers to them as red cunts. I'm feeling his pain. He said he is average he would be average if he left Portugal. He's only good in Portugal because they've only got 2 or 3 decent teams. He said he will never be anything brilliant in the Premier League. So I don't want him. I've seen him play 3 times this season. Each time he was rubbish. And then people have gone, oh, but you're playing against Chelsea. Yeah, well, that's the kind of measure you need to measure him by, isn't it? Don't want him playing against Wigan and going, oh yeah, he was great. No, he played against Chelsea twice and he was shit both times. No and no.
Okay, Geoff?
Yeah, I agree, Danny. I've seen him in 2 or 3 games this season. Both them times against Chelsea, he had a mare, couldn't keep the ball. A great big fella, like the beast, but he wasn't that beastly to me what I see of him. I promise you that. No and no from me. Sorry.
Okay, fantastic, Raj.
Well, I better stick to my support of him, so I'll say yes to having him, but we won't get him.
Okay, and finally, Andrew.
I think that we could get him if we wanted, but I don't know enough to say yes. And I'm very sceptical of a lot of Portuguese players. They always seem to come with such a huge price tag, demanding tags, which they very, very rarely live up to. So it's a no for me.
Well, he played the first part of his career as an attacking midfielder in the Bergkamp hole, so maybe we could buy him and play him there.
Yeah, probably will. Just stick him on the right wing or
Do you
something.
like the idea of him, Mr. Gimli?
I think the jury's out on him.
Is he any good on your game?
On my game?
Yeah.
What, on Football Manager 2015?
Oh, look at you, yeah.
I wouldn't know. I've not signed him.
No? Fuck him.
No. No, fuck him. The next one, of course, is something that, again, run from the summer. It is Morgan Schneiderlin. This player, again, is to be rumoured between 20 and 30 million. He's a central defensive midfielder from Southampton. We were privy to a bit of information in the podcast in the summer. Apparently, there was a deal very, very close between Arsenal and Southampton. I think Arsenal took a step back in that one, and then when they decided they actually wanted him, Southampton said, not happening. We know that he sent out a tweet on his Twitter basically saying that, something was going to happen, but Southampton wouldn't let him move. I believe this is what it is. And now we are in contention for him again in January. So that's the story so far then. Danny, yes, would you like him? And can we sign him?
It's a double yes, but I don't think it's going to happen until maybe the summer.
Okay. Geoff?
I don't think it's going to happen in January. Would I take him? Again, I think he's better than what we've got at the moment, so I would take him for now, but I'm not sure it's going to happen in the summer. I think we'll go a little bit bigger than that.
Okay. Raj?
I'd definitely take him. He's ready-made. He's got Premier League experience. We won't get him this January. I think we may get him in summer, and I think we may get a bigger player than that as well. I think it'll be 2 big summer signings.
Mm. And Andrew, because you were also privy to the information that I had, weren't you, surrounding Morgan Schneiderlin? I don't know if you can go into any more detail than what I can.
No, it was exactly the same as what you said. He was part of a short list of 3 who were approached. He was very interested. Obviously, Wenger, I think, was quite closely tied to the French camp during the summer. And as you mentioned quite rightly, when we came back in for him, and we wanted to approach him, the door was firmly shut by Southampton. Whether that would be changing in January, I think would probably be dependent on how much money we slap down on the table. Along with other variables, if Southampton could replace him, if it could replace him with someone of genuine quality. Which in January you are playing a much more variable game because of the short period in which to do business. I do think that we could sign him if we wanted, and as the boys alluded to, otherwise if we didn't, we could hold out and wait for someone better in the summer, which is a bit of an opportunity cost. But then at the same time, we're probably saying very similar at the start of last summer. We probably didn't want Schneiderlin because we were hoping we were going to get a Khedira or someone of that world class quality. So, there are arguments for and against, but I would put the money down now and get Schneiderlin, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you like him, Gim? I think you like him, didn't you?
Personally, I do like Morgan Schneiderlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the things you've got to look at is I was actually over the moon that we weren't going to be playing him, or he wasn't going to be playing when we played Southampton. And I think you've got to look at that as a measure that if you're happy that he's not going to be in the team facing you,
that's
then
a good
surely
sign.
he's going to be good enough, or maybe not good enough, but he's going to be of a standard that he could fit into the team, and I think he could do a pretty good job for us. And as alluded in the text box down the side, he is still only 25. He's got a lot more to give, and I'd personally like to see him, and I think it could be done, whether that's January or the summer. We'll see. We'll move on to the next player who we talked about briefly, and it's Loic Perrin. The fee for this one again has been around 6 million. He is a central defender from Saint Etienne. He's come out this week and said that the contact has been made with Arsenal. So, boys, will we get him? Do you want him, Danny?
I think I'd have him. I quite like the idea of him. He seems like a decent player. He's the more the Colo Touré, the more mobile centre back, which is what I think we need, because Koscielny's always injured and he does that role at the moment. It won't be anywhere near that kind of money, because if his contract is up and he can leave in January, and at the peak he'd only be worth 6 or 7 million, I reckon we could get him for 2 or 3. But personally, I think we should be better off going for Winston Reid for about 5 or 6. So yes, I'd have him as long as the price is right. But no, I don't think it's going to happen. I just think it's just he's just trying to get a new contract at Saint Etienne.
Fair enough. Geoff?
Well, the price is attractive. I think he's nice and cheap, isn't he? Really, relatively cheap for a quick fix. I'd have a punt on him. Why not? And do I think we could sign him? Yeah, I do.
Okay, Raj?
From what I've heard tonight, I mean, yeah, definitely take a punt on him. I'll agree with Geoff, but no, I don't think we'll get him.
And Andrew?
Is this Perrin, sorry?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris, who watches a lot of French football, seems very positive on the signing. He was named in the French squad last season. £6 million isn't quite what it's less now than what the risk it was on Scalacci. He's 29. He's experienced, clearly. So I'd take a punt if Wenger was confident that he was the player that he wanted.
Okay. Next one, Winston Reid. This player would be a 5 million acquisition as central defender, and he plays for West Ham. This is another one that we were going in for late doors in the summer. Danny?
I like the idea of him. I think he's a half decent player, or better than a half decent player. I think he's been one of the most important things for West Ham. I keep forgetting that he's actually New Zealand. He's a Kiwi.
Yes,
I don't know. I keep thinking he's a Cockney boy. I don't know. He's only 26 years old. He's only been at West Ham since 2010. He's actually played for Denmark, the under-21s as well. 3 levels he played for Denmark. Yeah, I quite like the bloke. I'm just looking to Wikipedia doesn't even have his bloody stats up for his goals. It says here that he's scored 6 goals in 112 and that he's 6'3". So I think he's a Mertesacker kind of player, which is what I think Mertesacker needs to push him on a little bit, or maybe rest him a little bit. So yeah, I'd have him. I think at 26 with all that Premier League experience, he's a player that could do a job for us maybe for 3 or 4 years. So I'd definitely go and get him, but make sure it's not more than about 6 million, because again, he's free in the summer.
Okay. Geoff?
No, not for me. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's good enough on the ball. I'm not even sure he's that good a defender. I know they've done quite well at West Ham this year, but I follow a lot of West Ham fans, and they're not overly keen on him. And they've said to me, "Listen, I think he's cost them 2 or 3 goals over Christmas at least." So, no, I don't think we should get him, and no, I don't think we'll sign him.
Okay, Raj?
It's a double no from me. If Fat Sam thinks he's rubbish, then I don't think we should be getting him whatsoever.
Okay. Andrew?
Probably a no from me, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. And Kate sat next to me, and she's just said that our report's coming out tonight that we are being linked with Ilkay Gundogan. We will be doing a little transfer bit on every podcast, very similar to what we've done tonight, with how rumours and stories are progressing. But one of the players that has left Arsenal this week, unfortunately, will be Lucas Podolski, and he's gone to Inter Milan. Danny, I know you wanted to say a little bit on him because he was a particular favourite of yours, wasn't he?
He was. I mean, he, after the FA Cup semi-final and final, he made his own grave there. He hadn't played for us since the whole of the Christmas period. He's on the bench for a few times and didn't come on, and then you knew the game was over. I watched the whole of his debut for Inter Milan the other night. Played out wide left in a kind of an attacking left-sided position. He actually did a fantastic cross to the far post from the left-hand side to the far right-hand post, and their player missed it as he slid in. If he'd have put that in, they'd have gone on to beat Juventus 2-1. But I think they had just before that, just after they got a player sent off. But he was just the same for them, jogging backwards, permanently not keeping up with the line of attack. I mean, at one point they had two Inter Milan strikers running forward, and he was just jogging back as if you thought that maybe they were going to clear it or pass it deep to him. I mean, he was at least probably 20 yards behind the run of play, jogging. And I thought, you're doing yourself no favours. He's probably thought he's fed up of the cold over here. He's gone over to Italy, and it's rubbish over there, the weather. But I was just wondering, I said to you earlier, that do you think maybe he'll do what Arsene did, went out on loan, come back to Arsenal, played a few games, and then we got rid of him, or whether it's going to be Inter Milan 5 million option, and if he doesn't join, he'll go to someone in the summer, because I don't think he's going to ever play for us again, and I'm quite sad, but he doesn't deserve to play for us again.
So, does anybody else share Danny's sentiment with that, or are they happy that he was a very, very high earner at Arsenal, one of the top earners, in fact? Are we happy to get him off the books?
Yeah, I think so. I put him in my personal category with a Bowie. I loved him, but I can totally understand why we've released him.
Yeah. I think I totally agree with that. So with that said, then we will head over to Danny. Danny, we are really, really pushed for time tonight, so the Twitter and Facebook questions are going to have to be quick fire, I'm afraid.
Okay, the boring girl. Man for man, how does our current fit squad of players compare to the top four teams, Geoff? Fully fit.
Fully fit. I think we'd secure third. I still don't think we're strong enough to beat Chelsea and Man City yet over the season.
Andrew?
Exactly the same.
Raj?
Fourth place.
Gimli?
Yeah, I'd go fourth as well.
I reckon we've man for man. We're better, good enough to beat any team in the Premier League easily.
On our day, possibly, but not over a season.
I think we struggle with consistency, and that's where it will go awry.
With Ozil and Sanchez with them goals, I don't think we're anything to worry about. We beat everyone 8-5.
But if you could turn around and say that Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil, are going to play to the best of their ability every game, then we'd win the league.
Yeah.
However, life doesn't work like that, and it certainly doesn't work like that at Arsenal.
Damn them. Okay, Mr. O'Brien, because I can't say your first name. With Santi playing so well, when Ozil is back fit, should he come and take his spot, or are we going to see Ozil played on the left wing again, Mr. Gimli?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Ozil, when he comes back, where's he going to play?
Through the middle.
And what's going to happen to...
Quit playing him on the wing. It's a waste of time. We know it doesn't work. We know he doesn't play very well there. Stick him through the middle. Let him play that role that he played against Aston Villa before he got injured. And watch your boy flourish.
Where's Santi going to play?
Good question. Yeah, on the left.
Or in the middle? Raj, go on then.
You've got to play Ozil and Sanchez in their right positions. If you do that, we'll destroy teams. But you start putting players on the left wing like Ozil, then you're just not using his potential.
Do you agree, Andrew?
Yeah, 100%. I think Santi's come in and he's had a fantastic impact for us. But we have to play Ozil as our main number 10. He's one of the best in the world. And if we can get him to link up with Sanchez and Sanchez to link up with Giroud, and then Chamberlain to carry on that form on the right. We've got such a triumvirate up there that we can destroy teams.
You wouldn't know whether to shit or piss with that a lot, would you? Who to go? Might need four players to cover it between the four or two of them. Geoff, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the boys are covering it quite evenly, really. I think Santi will still get game time though, because he's quite universal. He can play on the left or the right or in the centre. So there'll be a bit of rotation as the season draws to a close. And I don't think they're going to. Don't forget, he's going to take a little bit of time to come back into it. Ozil, so there'll be rotation.
Okay, while I got you here, Geoff, do you think, this is going to everybody, this is from Rob Coward, says, Coward, does everyone think we can make top four without making a signing in January? And if we miss out on the top four, should Wenger go, Geoff?
The first question, we can definitely, I think we will recover and end up in third, because I think we'll get all our players back. The second question, if we don't get in the top four, I think maybe the time would be best if we left the club. Yeah, which will pain me, but I think we've got to be in the top. We've got to be in that Champions League.
Andrew?
I think if we don't get Champions League, yeah, Wenger's definitely got to go. But I do think that as a club we can bring it back. We've got 4 or 5 good players to come back from injury. However, it wouldn't make any sense not to sign other players, because even with our full squad back, there's still going to be deficiencies in the squad. We've still only got 2 top centre backs. We still haven't got a good enough holding midfielder. So whilst we will improve as players like Ozil and Ramsey come back, it makes complete sense to still bring in extra depth and quality.
You got any wise words on this, Raj?
I think we're one of the top 4 teams in the country, whether we'll buy players or not. So I'm absolutely positive we'll get top 4. But if we don't, it doesn't really change my mind. I think it's time for a change anyway. Whether we do or not, I would respectfully ask for change.
Gim, do you remember when we were talking about this in beginning of the season, and everyone was saying, "Oh, Man United won't make top 4," and I said, "Man United will finish 3rd. Look where they are now." So
Man United will finish 3rd. We'll come 4th.
What do you think, Gim?
We've got a very, very good team, and I think we can pull it back. I think to turn around and say that we're going to have players back from injury and they're going to hit the ground running immediately is very, very naive. I do think we certainly need to strengthen in January, and I think he would have missed a trick massively if he doesn't strengthen adequately on short-term deals where we need to strengthen, and maybe try and overcome it in the summer. But I do think, regardless of position, I am like Raj. I think, and I won't say enough is enough because he's done a lot for the club. However, I think it should be done tastefully and respectfully, and maybe we should see if we can't get someone that can do the job to a higher standard, that's, say, more in touch with the current economy of football.
I'm never going to hurl abuse at him. And
No.
You can check any of my tweets. I've never done that. But sometimes, he's had a great career at the club, and win or lose, I think he's gone a bit stale now. He's bereft of new ideas, and sometimes we have to have a change. It won't kill the club. The club will still be standing 100 years after we're dead.
Well, there you go. Okay, lovely. Right, Aaron Farrell has written this on a potato, and he says, options on goalkeeping situation. Do we stick with Washek, or do we go with Ospina? So, Gimli, which one?
I'd go with Ospina and give Szczesny, say, a month, 2 months off.
Yeah, jolly good.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Geoff?
No, I'd stick with Szczesny.
Oh. Andrew?
I would give Ospina a run of games.
Oh, very good. And Mr. Raj?
Yeah, I'd give Ospina a run of games. I wouldn't give him 2 months, but I'd certainly give him enough games to focus Szczesny's mind.
Okay, Gim, tell me when we've got one more left, because I've got one question I'm saving at the end for Raj. So how many more questions have I got?
You can do as long as they're quick.
Okay.
I mean,
All right, Davey Laguna. Do we really need to spend big? Maybe address our team's lack of positional sense first, Raj.
We don't need to spend shitloads of money. I never think that, but we do need to buy players. I'm just doubtful whether we'll buy them this month.
Andrew?
I don't think you have to spend huge amounts of money to find the players we need. But the question raised, I don't think is exclusive to. It's kind of almost muddling 2 very separate points. Just because we have deficiencies in the squad, it doesn't mean those deficiencies are going to go away if we improve the training and the tactics. I think all areas of the squad need improvement, and that's manifest of why we're kind of behind Spurs in the league. So I don't think even if we did improve on things like pressing and tactics, it would negate the need for an improvement in the squad. No.
Have you got any words of comfort for the Geoffites, Geoff?
It's all about quality. We just need a little bit more quality rather than the quantity. A bit of quality in the middle of the park and defensively. I mean, because we can score bags of goals. We just need to defend them. If we could defend better, we'd be right up there.
And Gimli, do you think we need to defend better and score more?
Yeah,
Shoot more.
No, I do think that there have been teams in the past that have proved that, by spunking a load of money on places in the team where we have deficiency doesn't necessarily solve the problem. Personally, I would wait till summer to make the big signings, but I think, we need to go out and get what we need. You're not certainly going to go out and buy your leader that you need to maybe build a team around, but I do think he can make steps in January to improve the team in the short term.
Okay, Glorfindale, I've had to break that up phonetically, says, if we signed Carvalho, Schneidlin, Hummels and Cavani all together, what could we win this season, Andrew? He doesn't say Andrew, I'm just giving it to you.
Well, I
bet
think
you are.
I mean, most of those players are Champions League tied. I think I didn't catch them all, but Cavani was mentioned, Hummels was mentioned,
Carvalho, Hummels, yeah, they all are.
Yeah, they all are. So I don't think they're going to have too much impact on our Champions League. And I don't think we'd win it even if we signed all those guys anyway. But definitely FA Cup, and I think we'd see a remarkable improvement in our form in the league potentially. I don't think we'll win the league even if we sign couple of players. But I do think we would definitely push for the FA Cup and easily secure Champions League. If not, give a good run for the cup as well, for the title as well.
Oh, well, I don't think that we're going to get... If we had to get all of them lot, it's going to cost us about 150 million quid. So what do you think of that, Raj? Apart from it's not happening.
What's that? It's not going to happen, no.
No. So, but if we did get all four of those, what do you reckon we'd win this season? Being as none of them can play in the Champions League, we're out of the League Cup.
This is ridiculous, right? You're going to laugh at me.
And the league has gone.
Well, I think we'll go to the Champions League run as well for some reason. Don't know why I keep thinking that. Maybe I'm just being... you know what? I'm still a kid at heart, and you still think about these boys' own stories that you'll come across one day. And I just know we got the draw that we needed for the Champions League, and you think you're just with a bit of luck. Barcelona aren't playing that well. You never know.
Gimli, what do you reckon if we got them for?
Well, the league's gone. They're all cup tied for the Champions League. We're out of the Carling Cup. So FA Cup maybe if they all play well.
So we're spending 150 million quid to win the FA Cup, which according to
Raj,
that's
all that's left.
we're going to win it anyway. I do have a feeling in my water as well, Raj, but I'm not sure if that's too many aniseed balls. Geoff, what's your views on if we got them for?
I don't know about Hummels and Carvalho. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure about Hummels. I don't know whether he's got enough pace.
Hummels is good, Geoff.
I don't know.
I'm with Geoff on that. I think he's a bit slow as well, Geoff.
Yeah, he's slow. We've already got a slow man in Per. We need someone with a bit of pace at the back. One thing you do need at the back is pace, and apart from Koscielny, we haven't really got that, at the centrally. If we signed Cavani and Schneiderlin, I think we'd be up there, definitely, pressing for both competitions. I really do. That's a bit of a statement, but I think so.
Okay, penultimate question. Nick Gin says, a lot of talk is about Wenger in or Wenger out, but shouldn't we be concerned more about the board and owner seeming with their lack of a winning ambition? Go on, Geoff, while you're there.
It's a lot of old rubbish, mate, honestly. Yeah, of course.
Do you think he's got a winning ambition?
Who, Kroenke?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure he's too bothered about that, but he leaves it. He employs people to worry about that kind of stuff. What you got to remember is he's a businessman. If we're winning things, the brand becomes bigger. Eventually, he's going to get more money. So I should imagine he's made an investment in the shares for Arsenal. So we become a successful team. So his shares are going to be worth more money. Ultimately, he's going to get more money for himself. So it's a lot of old bollocks, isn't it? Really.
Raj, have you heard that the fans of the Colorado Rapids are furious with him because of his Arsenalism, as I'm going to call it? What do you got to say on that?
I've heard isn't he building a new stadium for the LA team or something? And they're saying that if he does that, he might leave Arsenal.
I think that there was talk that he did want to get in some kind of investment there, and because of that, he's ignoring his Colorado Rapids, which his family own.
I think he'll put enough money in to make sure that we're guaranteed fourth place every year. I'm not too sure how fussy he is about trophies and stuff. With the BT Sport deal coming in next year, £897 million, double what Sky are paying. That will mean that there's a lot more money available to Champions League clubs next year, including us. So we've got to qualify over the next two seasons, and that'll be his imperative because he'll be minting it. He's minting it in every income stream. There'll probably be a ticket price rise in the next 4 or 5 weeks, club level renewals or next month, so they have to announce that pretty soon. We're going to find out very quickly.
Have you been a money man, Andrew? I know that we've heard a rumour that a certain Welshman has bought up every Arsenal selfie stick. What do you know about this situation, and what do you think to his lack of winning ambition?
What, Kroenke's?
Yeah.
I mean, as the majority shareholder, as Geoff said, I think he's probably indifferent. Obviously, I'm sure he'd rather his prized assets win their respective trophies, but from a portfolio perspective, it doesn't really put him up or down. And I don't think the share price of Arsenal is going to fluctuate massively depending on whether we win the league or not. It's more based around demand, effectively, because it's such an illiquid share. Or therefore, it means that there's so few shares traded in Arsenal compared to, say, Man United, for example, because they're so expensive. The price isn't going to vary too much, depending on how successful we are. I think he's going to be more concerned around things like, for example, if we're playing shite and sponsors threaten to pull out, for example, or he gets lobbied from that perspective. But as Geoff, rightly mentions, he employs people to care about these kind of things. And, I do think that even Gazidis is determined to win, but within the frame of the current business model, which we know relies on a kind of an element of a self-sustainable, or a self-sufficient economy. So I don't think we're going to see change in the economics behind the club anytime soon. But I don't think that doesn't necessarily mean that people like Gazidis isn't hungry to win. I'm sure he is. It's just, I don't think at the minute we're in a position to compete financially with Chelsea and with City. So how do we find some kind of operating model which we can then make successful? So I think it would be harsh to kind of, well, it's not harsh to have a go at Kroenke. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I don't think it's really his concern. He's more that's why Gazidis is in place. He's the front man for Kroenke at Arsenal. And I'm sure Gazidis does want us to win stuff. So, I think, and I don't think it's more imperative to change the mindset of Kroenke than it is to invest in the club. I think, if Gazidis feels, confident in Wenger, Wenger picks a player who he wants to buy and Gazidis is going to back him, that's the thing that's most important, not whether Kroenke wants us to win the FA Cup or not.
Very good. Gimli, can you top that?
No, what he said.
Okay. Final question from Joe Madge, and I'll aim this at Raj. What are your views on the stewards and modern football? Should we have more standing areas?
Well, the stewards, he's referring to that video that came out last week where they literally chokeholded a bloke out of the seats for standing in the back row of a stand and threw him out. And that's the first of about 3 or 4 incidents that's happened over the last month or so. There can't be a fan out there who thinks that that's right, that they should manhandle people out just because they're standing. I got into a bit of a row with 2 or 3 Arsenal supporters. I was very disappointed in their views. They were backing the stewards because they were saying, well, maybe he was racially abusing someone or he was having a fight. The actual truth of the matter was that the lad was just standing there, and the video quite clearly sees him being dragged out by his neck. It's outrageous. The club need to address this because they're using some sort of rent-a-thug firm at the moment, and it's not going down very well. The incident before that, a fan had his season ticket confiscated for standing, and there's also now legal action from another incident where a fan was literally beaten up, and there's pictures of him with bruises all over his face and everything. And these are stewards who are supposed to be looking after us. It's wrong. And against modern football and stuff like that, I can understand, and I do agree with what people say about that. There's a Facebook group which has got loads of likes. There's a magazine out called Stand. They're against all-seater stadiums and the modern fan and the commercialisation of the game. And I can understand that, empathise with it, and even agree with it. But it's 2014. Nothing's going to change, and they're barking at the wrong tree, to be honest. This is a sport now which is just dominated by money.
It's 2015, by the way, mate.
Sorry, 2015. I'm jet lagged.
You're living in the past.
I know I'm living in the past, but you know what I'm saying is you can't hark back to the past anymore. Much as I'd like to, you have to be realistic. Money controls this game. But the stewarding thing, going back to stewarding thing, that has to be addressed. There can't be anyone on this podcast who disagrees with that.
Geoff, what do you think could happen one day, Geoff, if they start to pick on an old school boy like you or Raj? They're going to end up worse off, aren't they?
Well, that may happen, mate. They've only got to pick on a couple of people, especially with more people knowing about it now. Obviously, it's been all over Twitter last couple of weeks. But, we've had this problem for a couple of years now where it's the inconsistency with Block 6 and some are allowed to stand, some are not allowed to stand. it's very difficult. You will watch a game. It's emotional sometimes, and a lot of people do stand. And if the people in front of you stand, it only takes half a dozen people in front of you stand up, then the people behind have got to stand because they can't see. And it seems that the guys at the back of the stand, they are told to sit down. But what's the point? Because they can't see the game then, and it enjoys. They come to watch the game of football, and it's not happening. But these stewards, they weren't that quick getting in amongst those Gala fans, was they? When they were slinging the flares about, that's what I'd like to see. Get amongst that little firm. Get amongst that. See if you can see what you can do amongst that lot.
You go every week, Andrew.
Yeah, as Geoff was saying about the inconsistencies, we've seen all these vines pop up lately where people are being, manhandled out the ground for just standing up. A few weeks ago, it was at the Man United game down where I think people probably know, I sit just behind Wenger. So right in the last couple of minutes, I think it might have been, there was a bit of a scuffle right in front of the United fans. Ashley Young, I think, had taken a dive. And I stood up and shouted some bollocks. And by this time, the stadium was pretty much half empty. So it was pretty recognisable. Steward stands up, points at me, tells me to sit down, fair do, so I do. But this big lad in front of me, he's a season ticket holder, I won't name him, but he's a bit of an old school guy. He stands up and he points at the steward and just goes, "Fuck off," really loud. And the steward goes bright red in the face and actually sits down. So this is another part of the stadium. Or a different steward. You think he could have been, thrown out and beaten up. So yeah, as you mentioned, there's a huge inconsistency at the club in kind of the standards which the stewards are setting and what they allow in some areas and they don't in others. And that's something I think we need to have addressed. And as Geoff obviously rightly mentions there, with the away fans as well, because we see some of the time their behaviour can be completely out of control.
Geoff's absolutely spot on. Actually, if they pick on the wrong fan, it'll kick off because that fan will just break his fingers or something. Because at that moment they're getting away with picking on some of the softer fans or whatever. But if they pick on an old school fan or someone who's not going to take that kind of shit, there could be a proper melee in that stand. So.
Can you imagine if they picked on old Strutter? He fucked the place up.
Gim, sitting at home on your sofa, do you have any problems with people standing up?
Oh no, not a problem. Apart from the missus to go and get me a beer from the fridge, but she soon gets a fucking black eye when she gets back, and that's job done.
Easy, mate. Easy if I was you.
The only thing I have to say about this is that I'd have, if we had two ends that are both all standing, we'd get a better atmosphere and we'd get a bigger crowds and it'd be more fun. But when I was at Highbury, I used to sit right at the front in the wheelchair section, and then the cunts moved us right to the very back in with the lower tier, and then when everyone stood up, I couldn't see shit, which really pissed me off. So when I decide to start going again, I'll be on the upper tier at the front. I'll get a bit scared of the heights, but at least that's the only place I can go because I'm not going to get pissed off the whole time. Like I was at the 2001 FA Cup final, and when all those fucking twats stood up, I couldn't see shit.
Right.
And I think that happens far too often, but as far as me and Gimli are concerned, we don't really care, do we?
No, of course we care, because...
I mean, we don't go, so we don't have a right as an opinion.
I know, but as fans, if you went to go and watch the game, you would want to know that the security staff were there to protect you and not at the first opportunity take you outside and kick the fuck out of you.
It is a bit of a problem.
I think it would be a nice thought to think that they were going to protect you rather than look at you as just like, anyway. We'll move on then, and we have some predictions. As that 10 minutes took about fucking 20. Predictions for Stoke at home. Danny, quick.
Oh, I think it's going to be 0-0.
Geoff?
3-1, Sanchez.
Okay, Raj?
2-0 to us, Sanchez.
Andrew?
2-1 Arsenal, and I'll go Sanchez.
I'm going 2-1 Sanchez as well because that's what I've got written here. Shout-outs. I'm going to start. My shout-out this week goes to our very own chief blogger and member of the ABW. It's Other Geoff, or as you might know him from Twitter, at Hollenfreund, which is at HOLLEFREUND. Jake, Simon, and the newly signed up Neil are all going to be blogging for us. They're doing some great stuff, so go and hit them up on the website. What part of it is it on the website, Danny?
It is Bergie blog.
Bergie Blog. Go and click Bergie Blog, and you can see all their fine offerings. And I know some of the boys from the podcast and girls are going to chuck some of their efforts that way as well. So well done, great job, and keep up the good work.
And he's
Danny.
working, and other Geoff is working on a transfer blog, but it's not going to be the usual hits, attention-seeking bullshit. It's going to be a proper look at how it all works and why the people do what, and it's very secretive, but he's very adamant that it's not going to be, hey, look at this for clicks, because we don't have advertisers, we don't have any of that. Lots of clicks make no difference to us.
No, exactly.
Right, my shout goes to Jamie Parker at PARKERINO4. Just tweeted me, say it's his birthday. Happy birthday, Gov.
Happy birthday, Geoff.
Yeah, 2 this week, believe it or not. Gooner Dave 66 and Touch of Powder. They're great news that their book, Geordie Armstrong on the Wing, is going to be promoted and it's being sold in the club shop. So if you haven't got it, great. Honestly, it's a fantastic book. Get down there and get it next time you're at the Emirates.
And if they want to hear him talk about it, then go to our website, go to podcasts, and then go and have a look for the hashtag ABW book review. And looking here, it was number 81. And he's on there, and it's the wonderful Jason Davies who is doing it with him.
Wonderful stuff. Raj, that was a sigh from you there, so I trust you've got another one.
I've got a guy called @Michael_D_ who's quite funny to follow. He hasn't got many followers, but he has a very racy timeline, so follow him and enjoy the entertainment.
You only follow him for the porn. Andrew?
I'm going to give a shout out this week to one of Geoff's best mates, Mark King. He's people probably dislike him quite rightly. No, he's a nice enough guy. He's doing a triathlon this week. He's raising money for beating cancer. So his Just Giving page starts off, "Cancer is a fucker." He's a good guy. Drinks in the Tollington a lot. He's quite outspoken. But if we can raise enough money, he promises to stay away from the pub. And he's not going to bore us for an entire month, so that's worth my tenner.
And his is at MZaked90.
It's very controversial. Well, it's not controversial, but we don't agree all the time. But I know he's a good guy. Honestly, he loves the Arsenal.
His clothing's controversial. He wears the shittest parka coat I've ever seen. It looks like he's got a dead squirrel on the back of his neck. Fucking hell.
I got his @ wrong. It's at MZK90, and I followed him for ages. He's a cheeky monkey.
He is a cheeky
He also
monkey.
wears purple trousers. So.
Oh, well, he's a wrong 'un.
Got another one, which is the very famous @KT Hopkins, the most
she's
hated woman
brilliant.
in the world, or in this country. She went into Celebrity Big Brother. She came up with 3 lines last night, which made me laugh uproariously, which is, "I hate fat people, I hate lazy people, I hate ginger people," and I just really thought of Gim, so...
Oh, fuck off.
She is wonderful, and I love the way she does it.
I'm not fat or ginger.
Say that.
You're fucking lazy, though.
Yes, no, I'll give you that one, but I'm not fat or ginger.
Oh,
Right.
come on, get on with it.
So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland podcast. Still not ginger. We're all off to Raj's house to smoke some Marlboros in his shower. Keep it, Arsenal. Good night.
Happy New Year, cheeky monkeys. I've got it in without you fuckers interrupting.
Fucking ginger. You taking a piss, ain't ya?
The frost bites hard at the Emirates tonight. No more trophies for my team. The Blues are with coronation, and Mourinho will be queen. The fans are asking why they've got Cesc in their side. I couldn't keep him here, heaven knows I tried. And now the fingers point at me, 'cause Fabregas has turned up at Chelsea. We have midfielders, don't they know? Coquelin's on loan. Let it go, let it go. He doesn't play for us anymore. Let it go, let it go. It was Cesc who closed the door. I don't care what the fans may say. Let the storm rage on. He'd probably be injured anyway. If we can get a few wins, we'll forget all our strife. And to those who criticize me, have you managed one game in your life? It's time to give our fans a thrill, combining Ramsey with the Zill. And then once he is injury-free, Diaby, let it go, let it go. Cesc walked out like RVP. Let it go, let it go. Let him rot with John Terry. Here I stand, and here I'll stay. Let the storm rage on. All you guys at the train station, look. Have you sung one song in your life, huh? The fact is, Fabregas is just not what we need. I'm spending January trying to buy Winston Reed. I've stopped stockpiling tiny midfielders at last. Cesc never coming back. The past is in the past. Let it go, let it go. Just accept that he pays for them. Let it go, let it go. We've got Gage and Zelalem. Here I'll stand until at least May. Let the storm rage on. He'd probably be injured anyway.
I've just bought a rotisserie grill, indoor rotisserie grill, $69.99.